Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Kathy Fromme, and today's Facebook Live is all about our embellishment attachment for a group of our sewing machines. I want to welcome all of our Facebook viewers as well as our YouTube viewers. Welcome. As always, we do record our Facebook Lives so that you can watch later if you get called away and you can't stay with us while we're live. Of course, we love for you to stay with us live because then you can ask us questions live. In the background, I have Amy with me today, and she's going to monitor the chat and bring our questions to the front for me. So thank you, Amy, for being here today. And again, welcome everyone to today's Facebook Live. This is recorded on both Facebook and YouTube. And today's topic is all about the embellishment attachment. Okay, so let's get started and take a quick look at what comes in the box. So let me do a little camera shifting here, and we will be ready to go. Okay, so now I can see what's going on as well. So on the table, I have laid out our designer embellishment attachment here. This is the newer one of our two attachments for our machine. And behind it, I have, it's a little bit smaller of a box, the original ribbon embroidery attachment. Okay, so we are focusing today on the designer embellishment attachment, which gives us more options for more embellishments. All right, first off, let's define what an embellishment is. So an embellishment is something that we put on the surface of fabric or embroidery, or even if you are going to stitch on something other than fabric. I know a lot of you out there make cards, and you may add embellishments that way. We've had many feet throughout the years that fit our Husqvarna Viking machines that you can add embellishments with. We have a sequence foot that lets you sew on a single strand of sequins. We have pearl feet, which allows you to stitch, pearls by the yard on your sewing machine. We have lots of other feet that can be used for adding those embellishments, but now we have this wonderful attachment called the Designer Embellishment Attachment. It allows us to do 3 different types of embellishments. It allows us to do ribbons. So we've got all kinds of different ribbons that we can use for our embellishment. It allows us to use yarns. And basically, in my opinion, if it's round and pliable enough, then you can use it for the attachment. Okay, it should work just fine. All right, and then of course we have beads. So these are pearls or plastic beads. They're really not, not cultured pearls that you wear to your fancy events, but and we can use 2 different sizes of pearls. This small one is a 2mm pearl, and this bigger copper colored one is a 4mm pearl. So those are your sizes that you can use for pearls. Okay, when it comes to ribbon sizes, you can use anything from 1/8 inch all the way up to 5/8 of an inch wide. There's some tricks on doing different ribbon embroideries and different types of ribbon. Personally, the more flexible the ribbon is, the easier it is to work with. The thinner it is, so that narrow little skinny 1/8 inch ribbon, it bends and twists a little bit easier, so it can go around tight corners. The wider ribbon, it's not going to go around your corners quite as easy. So there are things to consider when you are selecting the embellishment to use for your design. Now, before we get into that, let's take a look at the actual embellishment attachment. It does come in its own box. It's a custom box. You're going to want to keep this box. All right. It has a wonderful magnetic closure on it. Of course, it comes with the safety instructions and some extra foam. But look at this. It comes with a cutout for each and every piece of the embellishment attachment, okay? Now, of course, I have the box empty because I have it all out to show you, but this is why it's important to keep this box. It's an investment type of attachment, okay? And you want to keep it safe when you are not using it. So all the pieces parts fit back in. This covers it so nothing can falls out. And then you have a top piece of foam, and then you can close your box. Okay, so let me just push this box back here out of our way. And I'm going to show you the different parts of the of this attachment. So first off, we have the physical attachment itself. All right, and this connects to the machine. On the side here, let me try to hold that at a better angle for you. There's this little U-shaped channel, and that's how it attaches to the machine. When you're in front of the machine, you're going to be able to read Husqvarna Viking, and so this slips onto the attachment angle. And then your embellishment item, whatever it might be, is filled on a spool here. Now I have this locked. If I didn't have this locked, my whole spool would fall off. And believe me, I already chased this around my sewing space once this week, so I don't want to do that again. I've got to try to remember to keep it locked and when I'm moving around. So I'm going to just turn this black knob to the right 2 times, and it will unlock the spool. Now, the attachment comes with 2 spools, all right, so that you can have one ready to go and one in waiting, shall we say. I'm going to just put those there for a moment and talk about the back side of the embellishment attachment. Okay, so on the side, you notice that there's this piece in the box too. Well, it looks a lot like this piece here. They are for 2 different purposes. This piece has a channel, a round channel in it. This piece does not. It has a flat opening right here. So this piece with the channel, the rounded channel, is for round things, such as your beads or your yarn, because yarn is round, right? The flat channel would be used for ribbon. All right, it's very easy to switch these out. Just turn it over. And at the bottom, there's a little area that is a little bit flexible. And if you push this down and twist, it comes off. Now, without one of these 2 pieces, you aren't going to be able to use the attachment. Okay, you do have to use one or the other. Okay, so today I'm going to start. The first thing I'm going to embroider with is going to be some beads. So I'm going to show you how to put this back on. And again, this is the one with the channel. On the back side of both the attachment and the guide, you have these 2 red dots. So I'm going to lay these red dots so they're lined up, and then turn this counterclockwise, and it clips right into place. Okay, real easy to do. So again, you push in to release and rotate, comes off, line up the red dots, and then just gently rotate counterclockwise until it clicks, and you're back, you're ready to go. Okay, the attachment itself also plugs into the accessory port in the back of your machine. And we'll talk in just a second about what machines you can use this designer embellishment attachment with. Also in the box is this little tray. You can see that it holds the spools. And let me secure this. Like I said, I already chased it around my space once this week. And there's a little guide here that I can use to turn this to load my spool. So this one is loaded with ribbon. I realize you really can't see it. I'm not going to actually stitch with ribbon today. I'm going to take this off and show you how to load yarn instead. Okay. Alrighty. So that comes in the box. You also get a needle threader. Now I've left it in its plastic because While it is silver in color, boy, is it kind of hard to see. Even on my blue mat here, it's pretty hard to see. So that threader can be helpful when you're threading yarn or pearls, and that just makes life a little bit easier. I do also keep my serger tweezers handy, my nice long serger tweezers, these right here, because they are very helpful for getting things in place. Okay, so let me come back to you all for just a moment. All right, so want to talk about the Designer Embellishment Attachment and what machines it works with, okay? So in the Husqvarna Viking side of the world, it fits our Designer Epic 3 and our Designer Epic 2. On our FOF side, it does work with our Icon 2, our Creative Icon 2, and our Creative Performance 950, which is a new FOF embroidery machine. So currently there are 4 machines that this attachment fits on. Some of you very well may have our original ribbon embroidery attachment, and that was the smaller box I showed you behind me here. That fits all 3 of our Designer Epic. So our original Designer Epic, our Designer Epic 1, and our Designer Epic, which is our original, excuse me, Designer Epic 2, Designer Epic 3. So if you only ever want to do ribbon, you can still get just the ribbon embroidery attachment. However, might as well have the flexibility, right, to do all 3 types of embellishments on your machine if you have a machine that's compatible with. Okay. Now, something that Amy shared with me shortly before going live is most of you are probably aware that we have national promotions every single month. And this is January of 2025. Again, I'm saying that out loud because we are recording and you might be viewing this in February or in the future years to come. So during the month of January 2025, we have a national promotion going on. It's going on in all of our dealerships and retail stores to buy one accessory item, accessory foot or attachment, and get 10% off. Or if you buy 2 or more accessory feet or attachments, you get 20% off. So an attachment is things like the Designer Embellishment Attachment. And there probably are some other things categorized in the same way as an attachment versus a foot, like the quilt binder attachment. So again, January of 2025, you can take advantage of those special sales at your local dealer or retailer. Now, I know many of you live really far away from a local dealer or retailer, and you are aware that we now have a shopping site. So if you're one of those people that just can't get to a dealership easily, we do have that same promotion running on our webpage. So if you go to singer.com and then choose Husqvarna Viking, you'll be able to see the Husqvarna Viking Designer Embellishment Attachment and take advantage of those sales. Okay. All righty. So Amy, any questions so far?
Do either of those attachments, the ribbon or the embellishment attachment, work on the Ruby 90?
Oh, Amy, I'm glad you asked that because I did mention the ribbon embroidery attachment, but I didn't tell you what machines it can be used on. It can be used on the Designer Ruby 90. It will also work on all 3 of our Epic machines, and it will work on our original Creative Icon and our Creative Icon 2 and our Performance 950. So the ribbon attachment will fit all of the machines that it can possibly fit. And part of that is limited by the space of the machine and when that machine was built, because it needs certain computer technologies to make it work. It needs that special port in the back to plug it into, and it needs the space. It needs not only a long arm space, but it needs height as well. And so on our Epic series of machines, which our Ruby 90 is built on that platform with that bigger body, that is what you need to use these 2 attachments. Okay. Anything else right at the moment?
I don't see anything else, Kath.
Okay, great. All right, then we're going to go ahead and continue. All right. Want to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to work on, make sure that I've got that in camera view for you. I've always said we want to get to the point where we have camera people like in our spaces. Wouldn't that be fun, Amy, to have a camera crew right there with us? Okay, so we're going to take this ribbon off of this. So I'm just gonna take it off. But I wanted you to see what it looked like when it was on. So I'm just gonna wheel all this off, and I saved the spool it came on, so I can put it back on that spool. Now this is a sheer ribbon, and I've had this question before on both attachments. It's like, well, how much can you put on a spool? Well, you can basically put what'll fit, and what'll fit a lot of times depends on what it is you're putting on it. So a ribbon like this, which is a sheer organza ribbon, I have something stitched with this, I'll show you in a bit. You can fit a lot more ribbon on, and it's also pretty narrow. It's about a 1/4 inch wide. Then if I had a big, wider, heavier, like a double-faced satin ribbon that was maybe a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch wide, it would take up more space. So the question is, there's no definitive answer. It depends on how big something is in diameter. So in pearls, it would take, you would get more pearls in the 2mm size than you would in the 4mm size. Alrighty. So now we're going to put some yarn on this so you can see how to fill this. The process for filling is pretty much the same as far as the embellishment goes. So for pearls or for yarn, there is an open hole here that you can see. I'm going to put the end of my yarn through there. But on the other side of the spool is a slot, and that's where you would put your ribbon end in. So I would tuck my ribbon end in here to get it started, and I would tuck my yarn or pearls in this slot to get it started. And I have to get my readers out so I can see a bit better. And I'm going to use my tweezers, kind of put that, stuff that in a little bit, and then I'm going to just take it out the edge so I know that it's on there. All right, now we have this handy dandy little unit in which the spools sit to be stored, but you can also use this to fill the spools. So I have my little handle here, and the handle goes into the end of my spool, and let me see here. I'm going to turn this away from me, and I just don't want to, trying to keep myself out of your shot. And you can see I'm turning the little handle, I'm turning it clockwise, and I'm filling up my spool with my embellishment. In this case, it's some pink yarn. Whoops. Get my handle back in there, and I'm just kind of going back and forth. It's sort of like winding a bobbin manually. If you've ever done any bobbin work or used elastic thread in your bobbin in your sewing machine, or a specialty heavy thread, you may have hand wound that elastic thread or that heavy thread. And so it's very similar, and also reminds me of winding up my hose outside. I have my hose storage is something very similar that I just wind the hose up. Now I'm going to take the handle out, put that in its storage. There's a little slot here, and for right now, since I'm not putting this on the attachment yet, I'm just threading that slot in there. That way it won't unravel for me. pretty easy. Same process, like I said, for ribbon or for beads. Just all about what you're going to stitch with first. Okay, so let's see here. For my ribbon, I'm going to switch you over to the machine in just a moment. I think though first, before we switch cameras, I'm going to go ahead and attach my pearls, or my beads rather, to my attachment. And so I had that in the slot. I'm going to take it out of the slot, and I have it hanging down. So as I look at it, it's hanging forward, and then I'm going to lay it in this tray here. I'm going to remember to turn my lock to hold this in place. That keeps this from falling out. But I'm going to put that tail of the pearls down in that slot that's closest to the attachment. Okay, so I put it in there, and then I'm going to turn this 2 clicks. And now when I turn this upside down, it won't fall out on me. Okay, I'm going to flip this over so you can see the channel behind. So we have a little tunnel it needs to go into. That's the pearls or the beads. So I'm going to just send the pearls down that channel. Now you don't want it to poke out here. That's just a guide that you can help to ease it down in, and then it comes out the bottom. Now, don't want it to come out too soon. It's got to come out all the way into the middle. So this is like a little channel. Now, because I have that locked, the pearls don't pull very well, but we'll unlock it before we start to sew with it, okay? So again, you turn this back over. This is how you would see it at your machine when you're sitting at your machine. I have the pearls with it coming over in that slot right here through the first hole and then down that whole channel so it comes out. This is where my palm is. That's where the embroidery is going to happen. Okay. All righty. So we have that ready to go. And I'm going to set that aside.
Hey, Kathy.
Yes, Amy.
Before you set that up on your machine, will you show again how you attached the spool itself onto the attachment?
Oh, sure, of course. Let me bring that back over into our view. So I have, as you're looking at the machine, you can read Husqvarna Viking here. I'm going to unlock the black handle. So I'm turning it right twice, and then the spindle just comes out. So maybe if I hold it this way, you can see that that spindle just drops down, and then turn it 2 clicks to the left to hold it in place. Does that answer the question, or do we need to see it feeding through?
I think that seemed pretty clear.
Okay. I got a little out of alignment, so I'm just going to send it back down for you all to see. Make sure it stays down in there. There we go. I'm just using my fingers to feed it through. The beads are pretty forgiving. And again, make sure it goes all the way through even that last round guide. You should only see the pearls at the very top of the spool, so it's coming down here, and then you can see them through this little opening, but they don't come out until the middle. Okay, it's important that that stays right there, and you want about 2 inches or so of pearls to be hanging out. Whatever your embellishment is, whether it's ribbon or yarn, you want about 2 inches or so. Yeah. Okay. Let me know if we need anything else like that, Amy. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple samples here of some different designs and techniques. So this first one, the ribbon is the embellishment in this case. It's embroidery plus ribbon. And the ribbon is one of the skinny, the little 1/4 inch ribbons. You can see that there's a lot of twists and turns and loops and things. this would not be very successful in that wide 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch ribbon. Okay, it needs to be a small, narrow ribbon to make this design a success. And you'll notice in some places there's some little leaves that are behind the embroidery. And when you are working with an embellishment, here we have some leaves that are hiding behind. You do the thread embroidery portion first, okay? So all of that embroidery was done first, and the embellishment was the last thing added for this project, okay? You don't want to try to embroider over top of your embellishment. Now, could you go back in and do some like at the bottom here? You could, but the way this tree and leaves were designed, the leaves had to go down first. Okay. Let me just set this aside. And then next here I have, this is a very popular sample that I have. This does use a little bit of a wider ribbon. It's a 3/8 inch double-sided satin ribbon. And I don't know if you've ever noticed how soft a double-sided satin ribbon is compared to single-sided ribbon. It's just remarkable how different the two are. It is a thicker ribbon, but the flexibility of the ribbon to me offsets the fact that it is thicker in dimension. And so this was just a very pretty rainbow ribbon that I found, and a butterfly design from our My Sewnet embroidery library. Now remember that if you have a My Sewnet embroidery subscription, you have access to all of the embroidery designs that you can use with your Wi-Fi enabled machine. And that is part of your subscription cost. If you're using the boxed version of our software and you have a compatible machine to the Designer Embellishment Attachment, and you want to do this butterfly, you can still do this butterfly because we do sell our embroidery designs from our library. Once you buy them, they're yours forever. It's not like checking out a book and having to return it by the due date. You get to keep that design forever. But I think the majority of our ribbon embroidery designs are in the maybe $6 to $8 range. When I was looking at some of them, they're about that range. You own it forever. You can stitch it as many times as you like. So this is an example of a design that has lots of tight twists and turns. I would never try this in a stiffer ribbon or anything wider than this. And I've actually stitched this a couple times I stitched one and gave it away for a fundraiser. And it stitches beautifully. It does take a bit of time, but it stitches beautifully. I do sometimes get the question, so I'm going to answer this question right now. Turn this inside out so you can see about like the stabilizer I used and how I dealt with the ends of my ribbons. There's a number of different ways you can do that. Look at my design. That's kind of a pretty little design. This is what the stitching looks like, how that ribbon is attached. And because this is a t-shirt and it's just straight stitching, there's no satin embroidery elements to this design, I simply used a water soluble stabilizer. Aqua Magic works great. You could also use, there's a product called Tear and Wash that is a tear away stabilizer, and then you can launder the item and the little bits that are left will dissipate in the wash. I did use Aqua Magic on this one. And I also pushed my tails through, I made a little tiny hole in my t-shirt with a big eyed hand embroidery needle. So in hand needles, there are embroidery needles which have long flat eyes, but they have sharp points. The needle most likely to be mistaken for an embroidery needle is a tapestry needle. It also has that long flat eye, but it has a blunt end. So I needed to use the embroidery style hand needle, and I just used one that I could squeeze that ribbon through, and I I left extra tails, pushed the ribbon through from the right side and pushed it through. And then I put some fray check right around the opening where I poked that through and on the end of my ribbon as well. This has been washed several times and it holds up just fine. Okay. So sometimes I do that. Other times I simply put a little dab of a fray check or clear drying glue on the end of my ribbon and snip it off. Okay. Because of where the tails ended up, I thought it was a nice finish to tuck those antennae down below. Okay. All right. Next up is a sample that is embroidery designs. This is one that's built into our Designer Epic 3 and our Designer Epic 2. This uses ribbon around this little flower here, as well as some little greenery. Not sure what I plan to do with that sample yet, but I wanted to show you one of the designs that comes with the machine. So if you don't currently have access to the library yet, there are about 20 designs, I think, in total between ribbon and beads and yarn that are built into the Designer Epic 3. Maybe a few more than that. Some of the designs come in multiple sizes for the beads. So it can take either the 2 or the 4mm beads. All right. And then I know Christmas is past, but I just love my Santa. He is one of our most popular designs on our My Sonnet embroidery library. And I used a variety of thread or ribbon rather. I have some sparkly sheer ribbon up top for his cap and then a different ribbon for his eyebrows and his mustache and his beard. Again, those are done in a real soft ribbon because of the tight swirls. Okay. Now let's get to something fun here. Let's see, I'm going to change up the order. I'm going to show these to you. I was asked, can you, I'm going to bring my blue board back in here so you can see this. I was asked, can you embroider ribbon designs or beads on something sheer? And yes, of course you can. Okay, this is a swirl heart. This I found in our embroidery software. So if you have the platinum level of the embroidery software, you have the ability to create your own embellishment designs. And in that section of the software, there are some preloaded artwork that you can use for creating. So you start with a design and then you plot where you want your embellishment to be. So I just traced along the line that it gave me in the software. Something to note on the beads, the use of beads, is that you cannot have your twists too close together or it won't work. It's just too tight for it to work. And you can't have them cross over. So this heart just has a little opening here, which was intended. It is part of the design. And it just, it started actually here in the middle of this curl, worked its way around and went here. So the butterfly, as well as the, I don't remember if the Santa hat did or not, but the butterfly definitely had a couple places where the ribbon crosses over itself. And that, is something you can do with ribbon or with yarn that you cannot do with beads. Okay. All right, Amy.
Yes.
Any questions at this point? I'm going to save my little other hearts. I'm going to come back to those and explain those in a little bit.
Yes, you do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Somebody wanted to know on the t-shirt, do you need to wash it inside out? Do you need to put it in like a lingerie bag or anything like that?
I wash it inside out. I do. But I didn't put it in a lingerie bag. It's a t-shirt. So the fabric itself wasn't very delicate, nor is the ribbon delicate. So, you know, I just used a cool water wash and rinse and threw it in the dryer, honestly, because everything was washable. The ribbon was washable. That is something you should take into account. Check the labels on what you're buying to make sure your ribbon is washable, because sometimes it's not. And if you're unsure, throw the ribbon into a lingerie bag and either hand wash it or machine wash it on a delicate cycle, just to be sure it's going to survive the laundry.
Good advice. Also, somebody wanted to know, I'm trying to find this question. How fast does the stitching go when using the attachment? Is the speed regulated by the machine or the design?
So the machine, so the information that is part of the design, the twists, the turns, the rotations, all of that information plays into how fast the machine will stitch it out. You can only slow down an embellishment design. You cannot speed it up. All right. So if you have your machine set full speed and you are using an embellishment attachment, however fast it goes at whatever point in the design it stitches, that's how fast it's going to go. Like along a straightaway, it's going to sew faster than it will going around a curve. All right. Yarns and beads sew a bit slower because of the process of how the attachment turns with each stitch. So everything is determined by the machine. I hope that was a clear enough explanation.
Perfect.
Anything else?
That's all I'm seeing right now.
All righty, then I think we're ready to head over to the machine, and I'm going to switch. There we go. All right, and wake up my machine, which fell asleep. Just move this to the side again, make sure I can see what's happening for you guys. Okay, so on my machine, and let me zoom up, there's one more piece that was in the box that I already had on my machine that I didn't show you. Oops. Sorry, guys. There we go. And if I lower my needle manually, you'll be able to see it better. This attachment, it's called an attachment ankle. It takes the place of your regular ankle because you're not using your Q foot for embroidering with the embellishment attachment. Like I said earlier, some of those samples I had embroidery on them. You would do all that embroidery first using your Q foot. All right. Then when it's time to do the embellishment portion of your design, you would switch from your Q foot to the embellishment attachment. And it goes on. There's a screw on the side, same screw that you use for your Q foot. It slides up. There's even a red line that says that this direction is up. And then these two prongs here are what the attachment attaches to when you put it on the machine. Okay. So I'm going to just roll my needle back up so it's back up nice and high, and make sure I didn't lose my thread. There we go. Now, hint, experience, voice of experiences, check your bobbin before you get started. Make sure you have a full bobbin in or close to a full bobbin that will work for your design you're doing. You really can't change out the bobbin once you get started with the embellishment attachment. You will need to save your design, take it off, and yeah, just start with a new bobbin every time. Okay. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to try to show you this. Maybe this is the one thing we didn't pre-check. Oh, good. We're pretty good here. Get you up just a little bit. All right. Now, on our machines, again, that use the Designer Embellishment Attachment, those machines are our Designer Epic 3 and our Designer Epic 2, along with our Icon 2 and our Performance, Creative Performance 950. So all of those machines have our integrative touchscreen, and we can use our built-in tutorials to help us along the way. I'm going to go to my Joy of Sewing Advisor. Now, again, we did record this for you, and you'll be able to watch this at any time that you want to on both platforms, on Facebook and YouTube. However, maybe you can't find the video at midnight. your machine will tell you what to do. I promise you it will. So I touched Joy of Sewing Advisor, and I'm going to touch embroidery here. And then, oh, let me show you this really quick here, because occasionally we get this question in general from the educators. The educators get this question. People want to see the design booklet. Well, there's a QR code here. Just open up your phone's camera and take a picture of it. And it will, see if it'll read it with all my funky lights going on here. And I can't get it to quite read, but it would open up the manual with all the catalog of all the designs. So that's right here on the first tab. So we're in embroidery, and then we have all kinds of different tabs about different types of embroidery. So if you need to learn something, directions are right here. If you scroll to the far right, you'll see embellishment attachment. And then we have, bring it in just a tad closer. We have 5 choices in these little tiles. Abbreviated DEA stands for Designer Embellishment Attachment. Okay, so we have ribbon, yarn, bead 2 millimeter, and bead 4 millimeter. So those are the 4 different things we can do. They give you 2 for each of the beads. I'm sorry, they give you 2 tiles for your beads, 1 for each side. And then at the bottom here, if you have our original embroidery, ribbon embroidery attachment, you would use this button, and it's going to teach you how to use that attachment. So I'm going to do a bead embroidery for you, and I have my attachment loaded with 4 millimeter beads. So I'm going to touch the 4 millimeter bead and make this a little bit bigger. I love that you can move these boxes around on the Designer Epic 3 and increase them a little bit. I already have my text as large as it can go, but I could reduce it as well. This is going to take you through all the steps, step by step by step. I've already told you about the different parts and pieces. This even goes into like how to hoop and all those good things. But something else that it has, which is a huge time saver for you and for myself, is there's a second tab here called Content. We have this in all of our Joy Sewing Advisor areas, and it shows what is relevant to what you selected. So I selected the 4 millimeter beads. And so these are the designs that are built into the machine that accommodate the 4 millimeter beads. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and choose design number 1. So touch and hold to load, and it says that an embellishment design is loaded. Make sure to place all designs in the marked area of the hoop. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to minimize my direction here. Well, this is fun. Well, it selected my large turnable hoop, which is not compatible with this. I'm going to be using my 465 by 260 hoop. So I'm going to choose that in my hoop options. And then I'm going to bring my design into the field. Now, I don't know that you can see this too well because of my background color here on my hoop. I thought that black would work. Let's try yellow. There you go. You can see that much better. And you can see that here's my bead design. Now, there's a fainter line, which does not show up as well now that I'm on yellow, but it's inside the hoop boundary. So if I move this design outside the inner boundary, but it's still within the hoop, it's still red, means that the embellishment, this is big, okay? It takes up some space. So we need room to work. So it's got to be within those red lines. And I want to center that. So just touch the centering. It's just a quick and easy way to center a design. And now we're going to move to stitch out. So I'm going to touch my stitch out. This is my little check that tells me everything I'm using. And I'm going to click on apply. And my arm is going to go over in place. I'm going to switch your view because you can't see what's happening. There we go. We're ready to attach the hoop. And if you haven't experienced yet how Designer Big 3 hoop attaches, it is so easy. A little hard if you're sitting and avoiding your cameras and your wires. I just want to make sure that I don't have any fabric caught up underneath my hoop. All right, that's in place. And I'm going to go ahead and say okay on my screen. And then I get a reminder on my screen that you're not really seeing that we need to actually attach the attachment. So the attachment has red lines in the inner part and the outer ring. And if you rotate this just a little bit, sorry, I have to hold it slightly different to rotate it. I'm going to line those two up. So if I turn it there, that is my clearance for where my needle is going to pass through. I'm going to bring this from behind, and I have it tilted at an angle. So I have it like this angle. All right, I'm going to bring it from behind and just turn it. And once my needle passes, then I'm going to attach it on these pegs. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it up and pull straight on. Okay, again, trying to keep myself out of the picture so you can see what's happening. I'm just going to bring that thread down and then pull that forward, so that's now attached. And then I still have my little pigtail on the back side here. I'm just going to stand up so I can get that in place for you. And once it plugs in, you can't hear it, but my screen made a little beep sound. And it says on screen that my embellishment attachment needs to calibrate. Before you start to embroider, make sure to have the correct pivot height for your embellishment. Go to settings and set the recommended pivot height. So I'm going to say, okay, that little movement was just this unit calibrating. Okay. And so I'll pop over to settings real quick and go to embroidery settings for you. And then right here is my pivot height, embellishment, embroidery pivot height. You will only see this part on your screen in embroidery settings if you physically have the embellishment attachment on and plugged in. Otherwise, this never shows. And right on screen is a little guide that says, I'm doing beads today, so my beads are recommended to be 9 to 12 in pivot height. This is how high the embellishment attachment is from the fabric. I'm doing the largest beads, 4 millimeters, so I'm going to go all the way to 12. Okay. Just go back out of my settings, and I'm back at my design screen. Okay, so I think that'll be a good angle to show you.
Kathy, before you start stitching, will you just put the embellishment attachment on again? I don't think it was very clear how it hooked onto the little pins.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to show you how to take it off then. And so this black button here in front, let me get you zoomed a little tighter. I'm going to push this button in. That's a release. And then I'm going to take both hands and I'm going to push the actual attachment back. So I'm pushing in and then pushing back. Now I still have it plugged in. Okay. Usually I unplug it first. Okay. But I'm just showing you how to attach it and reattach it. Trying to think, Amy, if there's a better, how is that? Do you think that would work?
I think that looks pretty clear. Okay. If you can just point the difference between the needle, screw for the needle, and then the two little prongs there, I think that was a little confusing there.
All right, I'm going to hold this attachment out of the way and lower the needle only so you can see this. And I won't actually be able to put this on in this position. And here you can see a clear picture of the prongs. And where this red line is at the back on the right, that is where the channel is. I can kind of lift it like this. but my needle is in the way now from the attachment. So let me lift that needle back up. I'm going to line up those pegs, we'll call them, with my channel, and I'm going to pull. There we go. Did that help, do you think? Or was I in the way?
That was very clear. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Good. All righty. So we are back attached, and we already calibrated. I didn't unplug, so we were already calibrated. We'll pull you out a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and touch my start button. Now, here is something that if you are really, really a little nervous, it's okay. It really is okay to be nervous. You can plug your foot control in. Did you know that? When you're embroidering on our Husqvarna Viking machines, you can actually embroider with the foot control. So if you want total control, which I touch my foot control, and my machine is doing a little tack down. And I'm actually sewing with my foot control. Now, something I did not do is I did not unlock my beads. So I stopped there for a minute, and I'm unlocking my beads so that I'll get a better result. It puts a lot of tension on if you keep it locked. Oops, I let my tail, I forgot to clip my tail.
Kathy, someone asks if you could mention again about the pivot height and how you determine which height to use.
Sure. So pivot height is important because this attachment, it does attach to something fixed. It attaches to those little prongs on the ankle. But the distance, the bottom of the attachment is to your hoop or your fabric is determined by what's called the pivot height. I just turned around to watch my tail. Hold on just 1 second, Amy. I just don't want to have a problem with this tail. So I'm just going to stop my machine real quick. And I want to cut this tail off so that we don't have any more problems. Okay. Sorry, sometimes I can't talk and do something else. So pivot height. The machine has a setting. It's a lot like pivot height for free motion embroidery, free motion quilting. And the higher, the bigger the item, the embellishment, so in this case, a 4mm bead, the higher I want this attachment to hover over my hoop, okay? The flatter or thinner the item, so ribbon or yarn is a little bit flatter if it's a small diameter, you can do a lower pivot height. Now, if we talk about ribbon, the skinnier the ribbon, the lower the pivot height. The wider the ribbon, the higher the pivot height, because if we come back to, let me find my curly cues here for my t-shirt. Okay, see how tight those are? So this had a really high pivot height. One, because the ribbon was a little bit wider, 3/8 of an inch. And I knew its design had a lot of curls to it. So I need lots of room under that attachment for those curls to happen. Okay. So a little bit of an experiment, but I love that right within the settings, there is a guide for all three types of embellishment. So we have it for ribbon, yarn, and the beads. What other questions do we have while this is stitching?
Somebody wanted to know, and I got to go find that question again. And thankfully, she wrote it twice for me. Thank you. I found it. Somebody wants to know if people who have older machines that can't use the ribbon or embellishment attachment, is there any way that they could still stitch out like the butterfly design, is there a way that they could still do that with ribbon, maybe using like the couching attachment? It's probably too deep of a topic to get into, but I mean, just, an opinion. What do you think?
Well, Amy, that's a really, really good question. And I think that we're creative enough, we can probably overcome that. How noisy is my machine that's running in the background? Is it too
Not
noisy?
noisy, not noisy at all. We can hear you just fine.
Okay, I'm going to let it run, and I'm switching cameras over here. All right. And we'll talk about kind of that same idea. So what you see on here is actually a ribbon embroidery design. It's hard to see because I used a translucent organza ribbon. I'm trying to get that close enough so there you go. Can you see that ribbon? All right. So we have ribbon, but we have fabric underneath it, not just the fabric that I stitched on, but fabric. So this is how it started out, is the swirls that you can kind of see. Maybe if I flip it over on the back, you can kind of see the swirls are the actual ribbon embroidery design. But you notice there's no ribbon on the sample. Well, that's because I cheated and I went into our software and let's see here. Let's hold on. I gotta get my mouse to the right place and find a design that I have in here. Oops. Okay, so this is the heart I did on the organza. All right, so that's that heart. And I had another design up here. Okay, this design is from the library. Okay, and it has two elements to it. It has yarn in the middle and it has beads. So we have two different elements here. If I just wanted this swirl design as embroidery, I could make that happen. On the left on my film strip here, this tells me that this is yarn. That's the symbol for yarn. If I hover over the color, it's going to say embellishment attachment yarn. I double click on that. It's first going to give me a little message that says it can't find the chosen thread because it can't find yarn in my thread. But instead, it's going to let me choose a color. I'm going to choose orange because it's vastly different and say okay. And now my design has actually lost the color change to it. It won't have, it's hard to explain so quickly because I know we're just about at end of time. If you bring in a ribbon embroidery design or an embellishment design of some type and you change the color and you save it, I'm actually going to delete out, let's see, this is, those are beads. So I'm going to delete this segment altogether. I'm just going to cut it out. Oops, I didn't mean to copy it. I meant to cut it. All right. This is now, I guess I didn't do my save very well. And okay. There we go. And now you see over here that it was the orange. If you save this design, it becomes thread instead. When you do a save, the machine no longer, it loses the directions for the attachment. I'll just resave that. If I were to send this to my machine, which I can't because I'm doing something else right now, it would then come up and just let me stitch with thread, which is how I did this design here. Now, I'm sure most of you have seen all the beautiful lions that Karen Charles has done, where she did one side of the lion face in ribbon and one side in applique. Well, this is the same idea, just with a heart. And I cut my flowers out of a fabric and laid them in place. What I did is I stitched the first part of the ribbon design with thread only, So I knew where to put my flowers. And then I put my flowers down. And then I started the design over again and then let it stitch all the way around. On this half of the heart, I've trimmed out the extras. On this side, I haven't trimmed them yet, just so you could see. You want things to kind of lay over top of the edge. Okay. And then on this sample, I have then reloaded the design as it was originally. This is a library design again. So this time I just sent the library design directly to my machine and stitched the ribbon. And it just stitched right on top of the same swirls. So hopefully that explains a little bit of how you can interpret things. We also have a lot of other feet. I mentioned early on that we have pearl feet in different sizes. So you could essentially just stitch the outline of the design and stitch over top of it with the pearls using a zigzag stitch, or a blanket stitch is sometimes recommended for that foot. We have yarn couching feet that you can use in a free motion pattern. That would be a great way to get the essence of the design on a machine that you don't have, that's non-compatible with the designer embellishment attachment. So, all right, what else out there, Amy?
I think that's all I can see. Oh, somebody asked about the speed. She must have missed the first part. So about how do you know what speed to put your machine on?
Sure. You don't need to worry about your speed at all. You can leave it set to full speed. The design contains the data to how fast the attachment should run. So you can't make the attachment go any faster than it's going to go on full speed. You can, of course, slow it down if you would like. I don't really find it necessary to. And I mentioned, you might have missed this little tidbit. If you are a little nervous about, wanting to make sure it stops on time and everything else, using that start stop button, plug your foot control in, use your foot control to embroider. It's a great way to do something a different way. So I did that the first time I did beads. I was a little nervous about those beads, and I used my foot control. And then I realized it's not so scary after all. It was just fine. So as we wrap up, if there's any other last questions, Amy?
I'm not seeing anything. That's the last question I saw.
Okay. All right. Great. So just as a reminder, this was recorded on Facebook and YouTube, so you can go back and view it. And early on in the presentation, I mentioned that it is January of the year 2025, and we have a national promotion for Husqvarna Viking going on right now that you could save some money on this embellishment attachment. So during the month of January, at your local dealer or retailer, you can purchase one accessory foot or accessory attachment. So this qualifies as an accessory attachment and save 10%. That's the month of January. If you buy two or more accessory feet or attachments, you can save 20% on this attachment. Again, I mentioned this attachment is one of those that's an investment piece. If you have your choice between the ribbon attachment and the designer embellishment attachment, I'd go for the embellishment attachment because it allows you to do three things. Not only ribbon, but yarn and beads as well. So it's a little bit more versatile for you on that. Again, that special runs at your local dealer or retailer. And if you are far away from your local retailer or dealer, then go to our website. If you type in singer.com and choose Husqvarna Viking at the top, you'll be able to shop the designer embellishment attachment online for you, and you will be able to take advantage of those same sale pricing. So we don't want to forget about that wonderful promotion. Again, good through January of the year 2025. All right. So
Kathy, I'm sorry, I did just find another question here that I had missed.
okay.
And I know there's not a whole lot of time, but maybe you've got a quick one for this. Have you heard of any common user error issues that people have run into when using this accessory?
So I really haven't. It's more, I think, about being a little nervous about getting started with it because it can be a little intimidating. As I showed earlier, utilize the Joy of Sewing advisor that's built in on your machines because it's going to take you step by step by step There's pictures. There's even some little movie animations. You can stop those videos at any point. You can press, replay, pause. If you follow it step by step by step, you will be fine. And I like that it has both the visual and the written word. So some of us learn better by watching, some learn better by doing, some learn best by reading. So it covers all the different ways of learning to use those tutorials that are built in. Okay. Other little things. I think just making sure at the end, and we are, let's see here. I can come back and show you on the machine screen because our design is done. There we go. So our design is all finished. And you do get directions right on. I'm going to zoom so you can see that a little bit better. Whoops. I think I just took a picture of it. Oh, and it went to sleep. Isn't that special? Okay, so my design finished. I didn't touch anything over at the attachment side, but it gives me instructions even right here. Your embellishment color block is complete. And it says pull out 2 inches of embellishment from the attachment and cut the embellishment. And there's a little note. Always read those little notes or warnings. When okay, this red button here is touched, the hoop will move. To avoid damage to your design or the attachment, make sure to cut the embellishment before touching OK, and then remove the attachment. So I'm going to heed those instructions for you. Come back over here, and I'm just going to trim my embellishment up here because I can get to it pretty easy. There, I just snipped it, so it's hanging out down below. I am going to touch OK now. See how that moved? And if this was still attached, it might drag it, okay? And then I can simply unplug my attachment from the back. And it does say my embroidery is finished. Okay. So let me get this off. I learned a great tip, Amy, and just take a minute to share this fabulous tip with you. Nancy Bronstein a few years back was doing some Christmas or Hanukkah projects, adding the beads to it with our beading foot. And when you have these beads left over, of course I could cut this, really close to it to get that off. But she also recommended you take a pair of little pliers and you can crack these beads. So, and if you crack enough of them, you can leave yourself a little thread. I got to crack that one some more here. And then I could thread that tail through to the back and secure it. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea. So thank you, Nancy Bronstein, one of our educators, for sharing that tip with me. And I've used it many times. So, all righty. Let's see. I think we have a couple announcements if there's no other questions. If you come up with something, feel free to put it in the comments on Facebook. We do monitor those for a week or so after a live and try to answer everything we can for you. So let me get over here to my announcement page. Our next Facebook Live, a Wednesday, February the 5th, at the normal time, 3 p.m. Central, is with Elaine Teriak. And she is doing an intro to embroidery. It's great for those who have just gotten a new embroidery machine or you want a little refresher. So perfect for that. I believe she's one of our Canadian educators. And then we have something special coming up the following week in February. It runs 3 consecutive days, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Each day, same time, 3 o'clock Central, or 3 o'clock Eastern. Pardon me, both of those are 3 o'clock Eastern. And with our educator, Janie Lance. She's going to do a 3-day wonderful program teaching several different topics, creating your own designs using Express Design Wizard. And she's going to spend one of those days, I'm not sure which day it is, creating for this designer embellishment attachment. So how to create for yarn, beads, and ribbon. So think of it as your software side of this how-to side. So again, that will be February 11th, 12th, and 13th with Janie Lance. And then, of course, don't miss out on those embroideries with Eileen on February 5th. Have a good rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy your new designer embellishment attachment. Bye for now.